Welcome to the Nostalgia Test Podcast, the show where two longtime friends put their mainstream pop culture past to the ultimate test, the Nostalgia Test.
All right, go with your intro, bro. It's all you.
Intro, bro.
Do it.
Well, welcome everyone to another episode of the Nostalgia Test Podcast. I'm Dan Dissinger here in LA, and I'm here with my friend and co-host Manny Aquelo in New York. Manny, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Hanging in there, as we say in 2020. Getting by, hanging in, going through the mask wearing blues. What's up?
That's what you got to do. Wear that mask. You know, got to do it.
And then, Hurricane, can't pronounce the name of it. Just turned into category 1, hit the Carolinas. I'm following, I'm old enough that I'm only following weather all the time. And actually, I take that back. I didn't even know about this until this morning when I got a text message that, the tropical storm is going to be pretty bad. I was like, we're getting a tropical storm. Like, the way I look at weather now is like I go outside. I'm like, looks like I might need a jacket, or I'm just soaked when I get to the brewery and I have to take another merch t-shirt, extra small t-shirt. I'm like, looks like I got wet.
Count that out. Count that out. Take it out of the merch.
It's like, Manny, you have so much merch. Yeah, that just means I forgot to wear a raincoat.
You get to lithology. It's just like, wait, I don't have a shirt on? God damn it. I guess I get some merch.
Can't wait till September comes and we get a freak ass blizzard or something.
Right here in LA now too. Hasn't rained since March, and we are now in fire season. The fire season is about to start, so we'll see what happens with that. Thankfully, where I live, I don't have to worry too much about that. But thinking about all the people they have to deal with that, because every year that's really bad. But yeah, we don't get weather here; we get events. So I feel like a couple of days ago we had an earthquake, so that was fun.
Yeah, aren't you guys due to fall off the face of the United States?
Dude, have you ever been in an earthquake? It's very weird, very unsettling.
I actually apparently missed one when it was in New York. People were like, "Oh, you didn't feel that?" I was like, I was working, in construction at the time, so the house was shaking normally. Something was happening, so it might have happened. I just didn't even notice. But I heard it's weird as shit.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Sure, it is
unsettling.
If Yellowstone erupts, you'll be the first one to go, and then I'll just get it later. So I don't know if it's good to be really next to it, or the one die of cold.
So if anything happens to me when Yellowstone explodes, I want you to record a special episode and put me to the test and be like, does Dan pass the nostalgia test or not?
And I'll be in a bunker trying not to breathe in all the volcanic ash that's going to cover the sun and make us go into a frost.
Try to get that bandwidth and then, in the fallout from Yellowstone.
That's it. All right.
Well, here we are.
On a very much lighter note. Go ahead.
Yes, on a lighter note, we have an amazing, I feel like, episode today. A great episode. Today we are putting to the nostalgia test a 1996 album by the Fugees, The Score. Just a little bit about the Fugees and The Score from Wikipedia. The Fugees was an American hip-hop group who rose to fame in the mid-1990s. Their repertoire included elements of hip-hop, soul, and Caribbean music, particularly reggae. The members of the group were Wyclef Jean, Miss Lauryn Hill, and Pras Michel, deriving their name from a shortening of the word refugees. Jean and Michel are Haitian, while Hill is American. Before disbanding in 1997, the group recorded 2 albums, one of which, The Score in 1996, was multi-platinum and Grammy-winning success and contains their hit single, Killing Me Softly. Hill and Wyclef Jean went on to successful solo recording careers. Pras focused on soundtrack recordings and acting, though he found commercial success with his song Ghetto Superstar. In 2007, MTV ranked them the 9th greatest hip-hop group of all time.
That's a pretty good standing for a crew of all time. The 9th out of only having, so few albums. Wow.
The one thing that I want to say is once this album went on and I started listening to it, it was just appreciation time. I mean, I was just every track, one right after another. And it just reminded me how much I miss rap groups. I miss hip hop groups. Like that is not too much of a thing anymore. I miss the group. I love hip hop groups. And I started thinking about all the great hip hop groups in the 90s and the 80s. Like it was just such an amazing experience to kind of hear a hip hop group and on an album and such a well put together album. It just brought me back. I mean, that 90s sound, oh,
Oh,
so good. So good.
oh my God, dude. So I remember when you asked us, let's do this one. I remember liking it. I don't remember loving this album. I don't think I was into hip hop that much until like the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
I got into it more, especially on our road trip. Shout out to Dave. I kind of got more into appreciating hip hop because of you guys. But that was like in the 2000s, early 2000s. I remember listening to No Woman, No I. I guess what we were in the eighth, no, ninth, we were in middle school. We just graduated middle school, I think. And I still remember being at somebody's house, on the side of the house, and the song was playing in the background. It's something that happened with my father, and it was. I still remember that moment of when No Woman, No Cry was on,
Mm.
and that's why I really appreciated that you were like, "Hey, let's do this album," and I was like, "I do remember this being a pretty good album." Now, dude, listening to it, this is an amazing album
Mm-hmm.
from start to finish. No shuffle. This is a no shuffle album.
Definitely
This is
not.
a hashtag Manny, no shuffle. Front to back, front to back, even with the interludes, the little skits that were going on, that were telling stories. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some comic relief going on in there. Oh, dude, it was greatly produced. I loved it.
It
Loved it.
was one of the best listening experiences because I remember this album being just gigantic. When we go through this and like think about like also other hip hop albums that came out around 1996, this album comes out and it just explodes. I mean, of course, a lot of their big songs from this are cover songs, but they made them their own. So you have like No Woman, No Cry, Killing Me Softly. These are, two cover songs, but when you hear the music coming in for Killing Me Softly, the
Mm-hmm.
vibe, it just like comes over you and you're just like, there's a very specific feeling that you're getting as soon as that song starts. And Lauryn Hill's voice is just one of the greatest voices. Yes, an amazing
Boom,
lyric.
boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, but
Oh,
it's like it goes beyond that. It's like she's a great lyricist, but an underrated voice, like singing voice is just wow, amazing. She's so good. And I just felt like anytime like I started this album to kind of get back into it, I was happy. Like I was happy to restart it. Like sometimes, you listen to something and you're trying to listen to it all the way through and you want to listen to it all the way through again. And it's like, all right, I gotta start from the beginning. But this album was a joy to start over because it was just one track after another, just every song,
oh,
every song was a hit.
I didn't want it to end. I had mine on loop at one point one day, and it just kept going. And I was like, I don't think there's a bad track in this album.
No,
No,
no.
like the grooviness, and it makes you feel so good, like so groovy, and like the beats and like every sample that they had, nothing bad about it. Like I agree with the Lauryn Hill, like just the Killing Me Softly, like the
Mm-hmm.
first like 3-4 notes, like
Mm-hmm.
get in, you're like, oh yes, I'm not changing this song, I'm not skipping this, like
Oh,
I'm finishing the song out. Like that's it. Even though, I mean, there's been times where we've listened to some albums and I'm like,
mm-hmm.
all right, the popular song, I listened to a while, I'm so sick, let's move on to the next part. This was not happening. I was just like, put it on, put the phone away, let it play. In my
Yeah,
eyes, it was chill, it was relaxing, it was zen,
yeah.
was crazy about it. Even with the
Mhm.
more like upbeat tempo songs, I didn't lose like this chill vibe that I felt the whole time. Like
Yeah.
I just felt good listening to this. Like didn't get me so super hyped, but it
Mm.
also didn't bring me so like low. I felt
Hmm.
like at peace, like Zen, dude.
Oh yeah,
Zen.
yeah,
Zen.
yeah. I agree. This album had that weird, amazing Zen feeling. Even the opening song, "How Many Mics," it was
I'm Manny, man. I'm Manny, man. Oh,
it was hard. That song was hard,
it
but it
was
still was just zen in some ways.
chill. It was
It's that
chill.
background music. The way they put that music behind it, like the beats and everything behind the lyrics, were just it just eased you in. And this is that's the stuff I miss from a lot of like new hip hop, is that real kind of like feeling that I'm having an experience now. Like I'm having a listening experience with this album. I need to sit with it and I need to just do nothing but listen. And it's going to do something. It's going to tell me a story. It's going to invite me on a journey. And it's going to tell me things that I don't know anything about. And that's the other thing I love about hip hop. When I listen to like hip hop, like this album, like the score, I feel like I'm learning things about the world that I have no clue about because I don't experience these things. And so it's like a history lesson. And this album just did that to me. And I was just like, I need to listen to it over and over again. I need to go through the lyrics. I need to dig into that literature and just really feel this album out the way it's supposed to be. I was
Well,
blown away by it, the whole thing. It was
I
just,
know, but as you being a poet, you must have really appreciated everything that was going on. Like I sometimes, while listening to hip hop, I kind of lose it. I don't even like listen to it. I'm just listening to the beats. A
mm,
lot of this, I was like, shit, man, this still stuff that they were talking back in '96 that we're still dealing with today. And I
mm,
was like, holy cow, man. Just some references that they talk about. Even the first one, they brought up fast cars and brought up Tracy Chapman. Like
mm.
the like the way they were rapping and the wordplay. There's nothing bad I could say about any of these songs. Like, what's your favorite lyric if you have one?
Oh my God, that now you're really like.
Did you write anything with that or
I
you
think
just
for me, like one of my favorite hooks was The Beast. And to me, that hook was sick. I loved that hook. I want to play this song loud with the windows open, even though like you can't go anywhere. I want to hear it outside. I don't have a car out here, but I want a car to listen to this album, and I want to play this song loud with the windows down. I love this song. I love
the
this
beast
song. It's
was
crazy.
crazy.
It
Dude,
was
that
crazy.
was crazy.
Lauryn Hill's verses in that one are just unbelievable. But what's so great about having a group is the back and forth.
Hmm.
Just the back and forth between like Wyclef Jean and Lauryn Hill and Praz. I mean, it was just one after another, boom, 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 and they just. This is and I guess this is the shame of also a group that's so good, and it reminds me of other groups that are just crazy talented and bands that are crazy talented. It's almost inevitable that they will break up because there's just something going on, and I'm just like, because they break up.
They were
Yeah,
kids at this out,
yeah,
in this album basically. They just met each other in high school, right?
yeah. They met
Dude,
each other in high school. I
the
mean,
Beast was crazy because it was like they wanted to one. I mean, it happens in hip hop groups all the time. It's like, oh, you came out with that. I'm gonna make this better. Like
hmm,
they were just going feeding off of each other, and was like,
yeah,
all right, that was nice. What
yeah,
about this? And
yeah.
what about this? And I think you don't get that with solo albums so much. That I mean, there are really great solo rap artists, but I feel like when you have a group, it's like they kind of all bring something to the table and are able to push each other in a song to be
Hmm.
even better. And the song gets better, it evolves, and it's just crazy. Dude, the
Yeah.
Beast was nuts. I also love number 4,
Zealots.
Zealots. Dude,
Yeah.
the track that they used in Zealots
Yeah.
by the Flamingos, which has been covered by so many people.
Uh-huh.
Um, amazing. Elon Bridges does a really good one.
Mm.
But that was great. I loved the rap over that. I loved the beat. It was so chill. Oh, so that's one of my favorite tracks. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think about like the mask. was great.
Oh, that was such a dude, that's what I mean. Every track was crazy. You know what I mean? Every track was crazy. Right now, I'm like looking at the lyrics online of Zealots, and Lauryn Hill's second verse is just crazy. You know what I mean? Like she is not anything to mess with. This is what's weird about hip hop in any genre, whether it's writing or any sort of like creative genre, right? And even in everything, right? Where they go, Lauryn Hill is a great female rapper, but she's better than most male rappers. And she would take most men to task as like verse for verse. So like to me, it's just like without a doubt, she's one of the greatest rappers of all time. When they put together like those lists, Lauryn Hill should be on that list. Do you know what I mean? Like she has to be on a list. It's impossible not to have her there. This and even her soul album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, that was one of the greatest hip hop albums, of all time. That's up there as well.
Yeah, no, she was literally a beast through this whole
Crazy.
through this whole album, like nuts.
Crazy.
And if you read like who wrote most of the songs, like her name is on. I mean, there's a lot of collaboration, and her name is pretty much on every single track, pretty much.
Yeah. She's
especially the original tracks.
Yeah. What was that?
How many mics? Oh my god.
Yeah.
She's on a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I thought it was crazy. Even with No Woman Cry, it was a cover, correct? We know it was a cover, but they changed it to be part of them, right? And I think it tells the story of Wyclef. Does it not? Or it tells the story of all of them, because it was like first they were or somebody was in Brooklyn first,
so
then they were in Jersey.
He changed those things. That's what he changed. He changed the places where Bob Marley had them. So instead of like Trenchtown, he says in the government yard in Brooklyn, right? And so like he's kind of changed the places so to locate the song a little more. And I think there's definitely a little things here and there for him to kind of get the song to be a cover, but also kind of like this weird collage, right, of them and the Bob Marley cover. So they did a lot of like really creative things, even when it was a cover song.
Dude, but those locations, I believe if you follow the Wyclef history, when he first got here, he moved to Brooklyn. He grew up in Brooklyn, moved to Jersey, where he met the other two to make this group, and then Trenchtown. So like that story was his story, like hanging out and also being in like, the projects and dealing what it was like to live in, even in America. All that stuff that Bob Marley's like talking about, but in America, that they made it their own. They made every of the cover their own.
Oh yeah. I mean, even when you go back to, if we go through to, Killing Me Softly, Lauryn Hill makes that her own. What's funny is like most people our age might not know the Roberta Flack version of this song. They're only going to know the Lauryn Hill version of the song. So when they hear it, they attribute it to Lauryn Hill. And, it's like no fault in anyone's, to kind of think that, because it's a lot of times that's what happens with cover songs, especially if they're so good that the person who covered it almost becomes the author of that song. But she made that song her own, and I love that song. I mean, as soon as I heard it, I was almost in I felt like I was going back to like 8th grade, and I was in that moment where I was like in 8th grade listening to these songs for the first time. That's the point in your life where all of a sudden music starts to become more a part of my life. Like I feel like in 8th grade where I was like buying my own music, talking about music more seriously, and all of a sudden it becoming more a part of something I enjoy instead of something that's just there. You know what I mean? Because it's so weird to think of like how when that happens. And I feel like in that moment when these songs came out is when, we're going from 8th grade into 9th grade into high school. And then all of a sudden that's when everyone's like the musical identity of people is of everyone is being created. And this album's right there.
Yeah, man. You could rock this album the whole time. Did you have it in a cassette form?
No, I didn't have this in cassette form. I, at that point, hadn't bought that much music. But I think at that time, I was listening to hip hop and R&B through my sister. So a lot of the things that would come like hip hop, R&B, dance music and stuff like that was coming from my sister, where I was into at 8th grade. So I was on Long Island at that point listening to more rock. So I'm kind of getting both worlds at the same time. And I'm listening to like, Metallica and stuff like that with friends that I've made at that time. Shout out to Jason Martinez.
Yeah. I went to a concert with Jason Martinez. It was a Metallica concert.
There you go. Yeah. And I'm like, but it's funny, like where you get it from, right? Because now
Yeah.
you can just go online and the songs are there. But then you have to either buy it, someone makes a mixtape for you or a mix CD and sends it to you or and stuff like that. So it's like such a different musical experience. Plus, radio was killing it. You can imagine turning on the radio and the Fugees being played and real amazing music from the 90s just being blasted everywhere on the radio, which was a great experience.
Oh, and of course, like this was on like Main Street Radio. Z100 had this. 103.5. I mean, even 103.5 had it. I mean,
yeah, Hot 97.
I don't think you could escape. Yeah, Hot 97. You couldn't escape this at all.
No.
Ready or not, or not, here I come. I'm gonna find.
Dude, when that started, I was like, oh. I'm gonna get into this. The whole album is a vibe. They set a tone immediately in this album, and they just ride it out. It's everything. It's like they threw everything at the wall with this album, and it just was amazing. Such a great experience to listen to.
Dude, Lauryn Hill had described it as like a audio movie, like kind of like Tommy by The Who.
Wow. I do not disagree with that. That's amazing. And you know what? That makes so much sense. I mean, think about how like you go from one track to the other and how the skits or like the interludes, how they connect that, right? Because like you're getting the music that's moving into this new interlude that's kind of giving you some like real experience of people, and then the music kind of coupled with that. So in order to get like this great history or this great story, you have music, you have words, you have story, you have everything. That makes sense. I would agree that this is almost like a musical movie like that, like Tommy or something like that.
Yeah, she said the exact quote is Lauryn Hill commented, it's an audio film. It's like how radio was back in the 40s. It tells a story and there are cuts and breaks in the music. It's almost like hip hop's version of Tommy, like what the Who did for rock music.
Wow. I love that because that's how I felt when I was listening to it, that I was being told this amazing story, but while at the same time, like being kind of ushered through it. I never felt like there wasn't anything that I can connect to. I never felt like there wasn't anything that I couldn't like enter into, but at the same time, you have to find the places where you can connect to it. And if you don't have these specific experiences, that's why this album's so good. It still emotionally allows the audience, no matter who the audience is and no matter where the audience comes from, they connect to that, and then they have that experience along with the artist, no matter what that person's experiences as in the world.
Yeah, man. I mean, this also tells like how someone or what was going on while they were recording it. Can also tell you like the pressure or the feeling you get from an album, right? Another interview, Sean had described that they had like no pressure with this album, and it came from a relaxed place, done calmly, and like they just wanted to make music, and they were just kind of expressing themselves. So like you feel that. You feel like there's no like, oh, it's our second album, we need to make this a commercial hit. They didn't. I don't think they were thinking that at all. They were just making music.
Wow, that makes so much sense because it feels like that. It almost feels like, well, let's just go in there and make this awesome creation. And they did. That just makes me yearn for those moments in the 90s that like when bands did those types of things. You know what I mean? Like, like while we're talking, I was looking at other albums that came out like in 1996. And I'm looking at these album releases and I'm just like, what a great year for music. You know what I mean?
What were they?
So you have like, all over the map from like, rock to hip hop, right? Like Pinkerton from Weezer, that was released in 1996. Outkast released ATLiens. Someone's gonna kill me for pronouncing that probably wrong. Atlians. I'm so stupid. But the Jay-Z's album Reasonable Doubt came out in 1996. Beck Odelay came out. Tupac All Eyes on Me. Nas It Was Written, Rage Against the Machine, Evil Empire. I mean, these are like, think of like 1996. Like, you know, that's just those albums alone. There's nothing coming out like that now. And then what I feel like is one of the best Tupac albums came out, which this one doesn't get a great critical score. Machiavelli, the Don Illuminati. That album's unbelievable. You have such a strong year for music, and I'm sitting here going like, how can you replicate that ever? You know, there's no way. Sublime self-titled album came out in 1996.
Jesus. Wow. I didn't even remember all that coming out all in the same year. That was a good time to be around music.
Right?
And you couldn't, I don't think you can say that now. There's no way. I mean, some good albums come out, but like, can you say that many albums from that many different genres, full albums that are unbelievable albums, not just like a single?
Well, that's the thing. No one has to release, like you don't have a release date, right? You could just release whenever you want, right? So if everyone's just releasing music whenever they want, it doesn't really matter. But when everyone was releasing on, I think like a Tuesday? I forget when they released music. It was like a Tuesday. Now people are releasing Friday, or special album release on Thursday. Like they just release these albums, right? I mean, not to give her any airplay in her last album, but I think like Taylor Swift's last album came out on a Thursday. She just released an album. Like, so that's like random. So they don't have to think about when to release. They just do it. When like in the 90s and before like Spotify and everything like that, you have to make a concerted effort to kind of know when to release your album. And 1996, damn. I mean, that means your album has to be that good to be considered in this 1996 school of music. I mean, like the Fugees, the Sublime self-titled album, Reasonable Doubt by Jay-Z, those three alone, probably some of the best albums to like, you know, be released on the same year.
I mean, yeah. I mean, those get talked about a lot, and even the people that are in it. So it says a lot about that generation of like young artists. Back to this album. I mean, we're still talking about, but back to the tracks. There was a lot of bonus tracks in some of these, and especially the one on Apple Music. I loved them, even though it was basically the same song.
Well,
I thought every single one was great. I loved the one where they speak Creole.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was great.
I mean,
it was done so well.
That's what's so great about a group like the Fugees, though. They create fearlessly, and they're just like, we're gonna put our culture and everything into this. And if people are uncomfortable with that or whatever, we don't care. And I love that because, to me, I want to hear that. I want the immersive experience when even I might not be fully able to really get all the layers, right? Like even if I hear something and I don't understand the language, I want to be in that. You know what I mean? Like I want to feel what it might be also to be an outsider in that space, because that's part of the experience, to be in and out and to be, understand how like music can kind of create these layered experiences. And that 100%. Yeah.
It's funny you said that. I travel a lot. My favorite trips that I've been on have been me being uncomfortable, feeling uncomfortable, trying to communicate with someone that's speaking a different language. And I speak two languages and still trying, there's stories that I could tell about traveling the world, trying to get my, lost my keys or lost my parking ticket and trying to get my car out of a parking spot to a man who speaks Italian and I speak Portuguese and American. I'm trying to charades my way into telling this guy I lost his parking ticket. While one of my, my best friend, Lee, shout out to Lee, is like, has food poisoning. We need to get him into a car. And, I love being uncomfortable and pushing the boundaries of communication and just everything, just feeling of the world. Right. Mm-hmm. And I loved that track because I don't know French Creole. I don't even know how to speak English sometimes, but you could tell that they're rhyming in that language.
Yeah.
And even though I don't know what it's saying, first of all, again, the beat is phenomenal and I'm in it. And I thought it was great and provocative that they were communicating in a different language. And to those people who are listening to this album, especially, Wyclef being from Haiti, I'm going to show that I could also rap in another language. And just think about being Haitian. They can't even speak English, some of them. And they were listening to the score. And they probably still thought it was great because of just the beat and like the soul that was coming through. And there's so many different ways that they were communicating in this album.
Yeah.
So many different ways. Like I didn't have to hear the lyrics. I was just like feeling the flow. And I think that makes for a great musician. You don't always need to know what they're saying. I mean, like, think about the best bands in the world. They go all over the world. Not every single person. I mean, now, yes, there, a lot of people speak English as a second language, but they also speak another language as a second language or a third language, and they may not understand it fully. But if a band connects in some way, it doesn't matter what they're saying in so much, if it just connects in a different, maybe by the rhythm of the music or just the way the feeling of the music is, they could just understand what the band's trying to communicate to them and make them feel. It's great. And that's a true artist.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot about in like heavy metal where there's a ton of bands, South American heavy metal bands that do everything in their own native language. And when you listen to that music, you don't understand the lyrics if you can't speak the language. But the way it's being said, the way it's being screamed or sung, and the music behind it, and the breakdown and the drumming and everything, you get what's happening. Like, you understand it. And even in hip hop, like, there's a big hip hop scene in Greece. And I've heard some of the hip hop from Greece. I don't know. I don't speak Greek. But those artists are killing it. And to hear rhyme schemes and really intricate ones in Greek, you're just your mind is just taken in on this trip. But like, you also hear the beats and you get that music, so the universal aspect is the beat, so you can like move around on that without even knowing the language. And so when they have these remixes, and there's ones that that one in Creole, you don't have to have that experience. Of course, it will elevate it if you can get into the linguistic part. But if you can't, you are still having part of the experience, and that's good. That's okay. And I feel like sometimes, and maybe it's American audiences, but sometimes that turns some audiences off, or people often being like, oh, if I don't understand it, how am I gonna enjoy this? And it's just like, well, think of people that have to are forced to learn the second language that's American style English, if they don't want to, but they're being forced to. Now do a little homework, maybe. I don't know. You know what I mean? And sometimes that has to happen. And I think it brings us into a more global space when you're doing that. And also like empathy, the artist that doesn't always want to have to do their art in this language that has, kind of co-opted the entire global narrative in some ways.
Yeah, but I mean, it goes back to what I was saying. It's like, you said it, like, you may not know what they're saying, but you feel what the artist is trying to show or perform. I mean, go back to opera. I mean, classical opera. Now, many people may not like opera, but I've been to a show and all in Italian, have no idea what they're saying.
Right.
But still felt the pain, still felt what these artists were, and even the person who wrote the opera was trying to portray. And why? Because it's just done so well. So like, again, if a band is that good, or a musician or an artist is that good, you're still going to evoke a feeling from somebody.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing about the Fugees. Let me just say this, that I think the cover songs are sometimes so big, like Killing Me Softly and No Woman, No Cry. Those songs, I think over time have overshadowed some of the other tracks, right? So like the title track, the score, is crazy. Like everything that happened in that song is just like, whoa. They're not going to play the score, you know what I mean, on the radio. I mean, I never heard it. Maybe like I wasn't, listening to the radio when the song came on, but I don't think they're going to play the score on the radio. unless it's like midnight, on Hot 97, where they would used to have like harder tracks on later at night, right? And like during the day, they just play like kind of the, the singles and everything. But the score is one of the best songs on this album. And those two cover songs sometimes overtake kind of how great some of these other tracks are.
Dude, the score was them calling out everyone.
Everyone.
I mean, dude, that was, I mean, you could call that like a beef song if you want. Like, they were just like, we're just killing it. We're going to destroy all of you guys. Like, oh my God.
That's why I love hip hop so much. There's like those songs, it's like, we're the best, you're not, here's what's going to happen. And they just like lay it out. And then you're just like, yeah, who's next? Like, let's hear the next group. What's the response to that? That's what's great about hip hop that I, don't see a lot in other genres, where it's just like one group or one person pushing the other person when it's just in skill, right? Like, of course you have, other rap beefs and stuff that go beyond just the song and just being a lyricist and pushing each other more and more to be better and better, right? There's always the, the history in hip hop, that has been talked about in exhaustion with hip hop and probably too focused on all the time. But when you have skilled lyricists and MCs like, in the Fugees, and then that song, like the score hits the way it does, and another group hears it and goes, well, we need to write a song now that's just as good as this, if not better, and like put that out. You know what I mean? I love that. It's just like,
well, you're evolving the art, right? If you do that, like
yeah.
You're pushing another artist. Like, you could go back to as like being like an athlete, right? I was an athlete in high school, and I never got better until I went against somebody who was better than me, or taught me, like, oh, I could do it this way, and then I got better. And like, you push each other to get better, and you push the sports. But like, sports would be boring if people weren't pushing each other. Music itself would be boring if people weren't calling, like, hip hop is made to call people out, right? To then be like, all right, I'm going to wordplay. Go ahead. It's your turn.
Yeah.
And they give it, oh shit, that was good. I mean, I think hip hop beef is good when it's done to elevate the next generation or elevate the next song and elevate yourself. Because like, if I put something out, then you put something out, and now I got to beat you. And I can't believe that you just came out with something better. So now I got to figure out how to even be better. So you're just constantly working to get better and better and better and better. And and also expressing yourself at the same time. So I thought it was great.
Yeah. The score.
If you haven't heard this album, anyone's listening, if you haven't, first of all, if you heard this album when you were in middle school, turn it back on.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll wait. Turn the podcast on. Listen to the album, come back.
Download it and save it to your phone, because this album is necessary now.
Yeah.
Even just to have in the background, like if they had an instrumental of this album, like I remember Chronic 2001. They have an instrumental of that out. Shout out to Shout out to the VTH crew. We listened to this album just in the instrumental the whole time because it was produced so well. This is another album that should come out with an instrumental.
Oh, I would actually love an instrumental.
It was done so well. Every track is amazing, and I could have it in the background all the time.
I mean, we are not hip hop historians, so even to kind of go, like, to go down the list of producers and beat makers for this, like, I wouldn't even know where to start. But just shout out to all the people that were involved in this album, because they created, alongside Lauryn Hill, Pras, and Wyclef Jean, probably one of the greatest hip hop albums of further than 1996, like the 90s, that decade. This album stands out like so much, and it's so great to go back to it now. You're right. There's no appreciation for it when you're in 8th grade. Like, you appreciate the fact that it sounds good, and you like No Woman No Cry, you like Ready or Not, and then you're going to like Killing Me Softly. But now you can listen to like Zealots, The Beast, the score, and then like just really get like totally into it. The Mask, and be like, oh, and
dude,
then,
The Mask was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I all of it was. I'm gonna say, I think I said the word crazy like 700 times during this episode, but it was besides like and it's amazing. You need to listen to this. I don't care if you're not even into hip hop that much, listen
If
to
you
this album at least
if you
once.
if you're into
It's such a
music, you
good.
should be listening to this album. Yeah, and if you're into hip hop and you haven't listened to this, and like having graduated high school when we did like in 2000, we got the privilege of experiencing some of the greatest hip hop albums coming out, and then revisiting them at a different age, I think has made me appreciate so much of that decade and that genre during that time when we were in middle school and high school, right? But I feel like now younger listeners of hip hop, if they don't go back to that point around the 90s and stuff like that and go back and listen to those albums, they are missing out on like so much of the foundation of what they listen to now. Because yeah, you have hip hop in the 80s, and that's important too. You have to listen to that if you're going to go deep into hip hop and you love the genre. But the people that are coming out now, the younger artists, this is the decade like this, and actually probably after that, way after that, as well, because what am I talking about? It's 2020. But like there's
Yeah, man, we're old.
but at the same time,
you're talking about they were listening to like Eminem and stuff
like
at that
that's their
time too.
heroes, yeah. And that actually, I
Yeah.
think, but this is an important album. This is an important album. These are three important artists. If you're not familiar with the Fugees, get familiar.
Sister Act 2,
Oh,
Lauryn Hill.
I'm so glad you brought that on. I almost forgot that Lauryn Hill was in Sister
I
Act
will
2.
never forget that Lauryn Hill was in
Oh my
Sister Act 2. Are you
God.
kidding me? Look, Sister Act and Sister Act 2 are phenomenal movies. We haven't put it to the test yet, but we probably will. But I will tell you that I am not going to dislike Sister Act 2. I will make fun of it, but Lauryn Hill rocked it, killed it in Sister Act 2.
Well, what came out first? Did Sister Act 2 come out before Dangerous Minds?
Dangerous Minds. Was she in that?
No, she wasn't in that. But what I mean is like it's that story, you know what I mean? Like that's been done over and over again, But I would say that the fact that Lauryn Hill was in Sister Act 2 blows my mind.
Dude, she wasn't just in it. She was the star of it. Like it was what they needed to not just make it about Whoopi Goldberg, so they needed something else. So they were like, "Well, we're gonna choose." Oh, Lauryn Hill.
Oh my God, dude. Okay, get this. Okay, Sister Act 2 came out in 1990. Wait a second. Where'd it go? 1993. So Sister Act 2 came out in 93. Lauryn Hill, the Fugees released the score in 1996.
Oh man, she was already heading for stardom.
And in between all of that, Dangerous Minds comes out in 1995. So Sister Act 2 comes out first. That whole like, we're going to take this school and all the, students. I hate that story. It's just like so weird and like to do that every time. But like, it was a great movie. We've not put it to the test yet. But then it seems like Dangerous Minds like, all right, well, we need to retell the story. Let's get Michelle Pfeiffer now and put her in there. Like,
the only difference was they didn't have gospel music playing.
Yeah, which was a big mistake because Sister Act 2 rocks.
Dude, Sister Act 2. I can't wait to put that to the test. I can't wait. What a bad, amazing movie in the 90s. Like, what were they doing?
I cannot believe that Sister Act 2 came out 3 years before this album came out.
Yeah. I gotta dive into more of like a Lauryn Hill, like what she was doing. I guess like they found out pretty quickly that she was a better rapper than an actress. She wasn't in that many films. I don't remember.
She was in. We can actually look this up, right?
Yeah, we have a thing called Google now.
Right. So here we are, Lauryn Hill, or Miss Lauryn Hill. I'm blown away by the fact that she was in that 3 years before the album actually came out. That's crazy. So she was in. Oh my God. Yes. Holy shit. Okay. So she was in Sister Act 2. She was in Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently maybe she had like a small part. I'm going to look on the full cast because that would be crazy. I don't see her on it. Maybe they were wrong. But yeah, but it doesn't matter because she was still in Sister Act 2, which is, super important.
Dude. It was like one of the best movies of all time, Sister Act 2. She forged a permission slip, bro.
Oh, that's right.
She was supposed to be taking care of her kid, sister, I think, too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh my God. Dude, do you have other rap groups? I mean, did this make you think of other rap groups? Do you, because I was thinking of that. I was thinking of other rap groups and like how much I miss rap groups, and it
Um,
just made me really understand like how they don't really exist the way they used to.
do I have other rap groups that I liked? I got into Tribe Called Quest very late in my
Mm-hmm.
years. Again,
Mm-hmm.
everything after our road trip. Um, which I love Tribe Called Quest, but I mean, De La Soul was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. De La Soul is really great. I feel like it's a thing that doesn't exist anymore, though. It's not something that like people do. Like, remember Jurassic 5?
yeah, oh yes, thank
Yeah,
you for reminding me. That was awesome. Another like groovy type of band, like
yeah,
awesome beats.
yeah. That was the
Yeah,
thing. Like hip hop was funky, or groove. It had a groove to it. You know what I mean? And I think that was the thing that they were talking about with this album. How if you listen to their first album, before this, right? It was way different. It was way different. They were like pushing them into this other type of genre. I guess trying to make them more gangster rap or whatever. That when they did the score, it was like, this is who we are. We're this. And I'm so glad that, like what you said, that they made this decision to be like, no, we're just making music and we're gonna enjoy it and we're gonna do it in this
mm-hmm.
kind of relaxed way. And you could really tell how they really said, we're just doing this because we love music and we want to be, we want to be ourselves. You can really tell that they really were themselves in this. But yeah, Jurassic 5, you have the Roots, which are still around. They came out with an album 96, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then they have, other groups that like I think are just not like, I guess wouldn't be considered groups, but like, the Locks and D Block, just the back
Ah,
and forth from Jadakiss and Styles P. I mean, that back and forth stuff, you have to be so skilled. That's why I also love the score because it was just seamless with them. It was just great.
nothing wrong with this album. Just go and listen to it.
Go and listen to it. Look at that. In 1996, Crash from Dave Matthews Band came out too.
Really?
96, dude.
Man,
Soundgarden.
96, heavy music right there.
Dude,
That,
Soundgarden's Down on the Upside came out. That's
telling
one of
you.
the biggest albums. Holy shit.
Why was 96 such a big year?
Dude, the Wallflowers Bringing Down the Horse. That came out in 1996. Oh my God, dude. 1996 was a crazy year for music. Wow.
When did Les and Jake's Losing Streak come out? 'Cause if that's
94?
on there, that'd be crazy.
I think that came out in 94. But shout out to Les and Jake, while we're here. Anything else you have about the score, or should we get right into scoring the score? Ugh, that was a bad pun. That was terrible.
I was gonna say it's a score of 110. No,
Yeah. Losing Streak came out in
nothing.
1996.
I knew it. Dude. Are you kidding me? It didn't.
No way. I gotta double check that, right? Like less than
No way.
Losing Streak. Because if that came out in 1996, November 12th, 1996.
Jesus. Dude, 1996. I have a feeling we're gonna be doing a lot of tests
Of
that are gonna
96.
pass in
96.
96.
When did that album come out of that band that we that then they
Smacking
changed?
Isaiah, that is now William Ham Scream or something like that.
Yeah. Change the name
Um,
back, please.
change your name if you're listening to this. Maybe you are. I don't know, but you should change your name back to Smacking Isaiah.
What was
Which
his
by
name
far,
of it?
the name of the album, Dan, was
The Weight of Girl's Heart to a Boyfriend's Stomach. Was that it?
yes,
I mean,
yes.
saying it came out in 2000, but I don't know.
It might have.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Back to the score.
Okay, back to the score.
Back to something people can actually find and listen to.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to listen to the one we're talking about because they'd have to go to YouTube or we'd have to send it to them. I still have to send you that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go first.
Go.
It's definitely, it blows nostalgia, brings it here, keeps it here. It's still an awesome album. I don't think anyone would argue that if they have any love for hip hop. But this album is a great album, and it needs to be listened to, and it still needs to be listened to, and it should not die.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. This album passes the nostalgia test, blows the nostalgia test out of the water. It is still good. In 20 years, it's going to be good still. 100%. This album was such a pleasurable listening experience. I want to listen to it again, and I'm going to go and now listen to Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I'm going to go listen to Ghetto Superstar by Bras. I'm going to then dig into Wyclef Jean's album discography, because all three of these people are unbelievable artists. And I think Miss Lauryn Hill needs to get even more adulation than she does. I think it's too much is talked about how she quote unquote, lost it or whatever. I think it's an artist that saw how the music industry was kind of it was this thing, and she was unable to kind of just be herself. And, just like the way they talk about Dave Chappelle, whatever he did, I think Lauryn Hill she's an unbelievable creative. She needs to be recognized for that. And
she was upset with that. Yeah.
And I think this album was 100% one of the greatest albums.
Dude, we wouldn't have some artists if it wasn't for her.
Not at all. Not at all. She's one of the greatest, one of the best rappers ever. Absolutely.
Best rappers ever. Also a songwriter. Mm-hmm. Apparently wrote and produced some songs by Aretha Franklin, Mary J. Blige, Whitney Houston, Sinatra, and more. Dude, that's a lot.
She's an unbelievable artist. Yeah. Unbelievable artist. The score, unbelievable album. If you haven't listened to it ever, go out and listen to it. If you've listened to it, listen to it again. And yeah, let us know what you think. This was a great listening experience.
Yeah, I can't wait to keep listening to it.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Manny, another great episode. Any final words for our audience before we leave?
Ready or not, here I come. I'm gonna find you and let no woman no cry. Playing my song with your fingers one time. Oh my God. I had to give you the Manny sing along, bro.
Yeah, you had to give the Manny sing along with the dance.
Yeah, they're not everybody singing it, but
maybe.
Maybe they will.
Everybody, thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Nostalgia Test podcast. Drop it every Tuesday. See you in the next test. I don't know how to end this thing. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please subscribe to the Nostalgia Test podcast to know when new episodes drop. Don't forget to leave us 5 stars and a positive review so more people can find the podcast. Share your thoughts and memories on today's topic on our Twitter @NostalgiaTest and on Instagram @TheNostalgiaTest. Tune in next time, because you never know what pop culture will pop up on The Nostalgia Test.